If you're on the lam, you're always welcome in Noir Alley. I'm Eddie Muller, your host, but not your bodyguard. Don't expect protection from the crooks or the cops, and there's good reason to be afraid of both in this week's offering, Crime Wave, made at Warner Brothers in 1952, but not released until 1954. I'm not sure the studio appreciated what it had with this neat and nasty number, which rates a repeat screening here on Noir Alley. After I'd shown The Asphalt Jungle and The Killing, two other crime pictures starring Sterling Hayden, I got a lot of requests from Johnny-come-latelys asking me to show this picture. In fact, Crime Wave was featured during our second season, but to satisfy those fans who were late to the party, we're giving it an encore. Now, I'll go out on a limb and declare that of all the movies I've shown, this might be the simplest. A gang of hard cases break out of the joint and coax their old wheelman into joining them for another bank job. Of course, he's trying to do his straight time clean, so their persuasion involves holding his wife hostage. And that's pretty much it. Movies don't get much more basic. Amazingly, it took 5 writers to create this thing. Brothers John and Ward Hawkins wrote the original story for the Saturday Evening Post. The adaptation was by Bernard Gordon and Richard Wormser, and Crane Wilbur polished up the finished script. Now, this Crane Wilbur character was a piece of work. In the 1920s, he was something of a matinee idol, starring opposite Pearl White in the popular film serial The Perils of Pauline. He may have even inspired his cousin to try acting, Tyrone Power. But in the 1930s, as a writer and producer, Wilbur began specializing in crime movies, especially prison yarns, things like Alcatraz Island, Over the Wall, and Blackwell's Island. In the noir era, his métier was fact-based crime. He supplied original stories for He Walked by Night, Canyon City, and The Phoenix City Story, among many others. Every other one a prison picture. If Wilbur's work lacked originality, he tried to compensate with authenticity. And on that score, he had the perfect cohort in Andre de Toth. Simple stories attracted de Toth. He wanted to direct scenes you'd seen a dozen times before because he believed his style would reveal intrinsic truths lacking in most films. De Toth was one of many Hungarian émigrés who had a major impact on Hollywood. But unlike his countryman Michael Curtiz, who'd become the top director at Warner Brothers, de Toth worked mostly as a freelancer, partly because of his restless spirit, and partly because he was a bull-headed contrarian. Andre de Toth was determined to prove, even with the most meager material, that he knew a better way to make movies. Crime Wave is a perfect example. From the very start, there's something different about what could have been a routine movie. The gas station holdup that kicks off the thing is directed with an edgy sense of reality, strikingly different from most films in this period. Collaborating with cameraman Burt Glennon, de Toth shot Crime Wave in actual locations all around Los Angeles, combining the deep shadows of classic noir with a cinema verite style still years away from being de rigueur for this kind of movie. Now, as I mentioned, de Toth made this in early 1952 under the title The City is Dark. And despite it being as good as any crime picture Warner's made in the 50s, studio execs were unimpressed. It was shelved for a couple of years, perhaps out of spite. You see, the studio had wanted this to star Humphrey Bogart and Ava Gardner, but de Toth didn't want them. He felt big stars would have the studio breathing down his neck, and he'd lose the authenticity he craved. De Toth got just the actors he wanted, but in the process, he lost a big chunk of the budget and was giving a shooting schedule of less than 2 weeks. It was precisely the kind of challenge he relished. This is a director who once in a while, with the right team, could turn the pedestrian into something approaching perfection. For the crucial role of Lieutenant Sims, de Toth cast Sterling Hayden, and few directors have used the actor's bulk to better advantage. Sims is a battering ram with a badge, an example of unstoppable authority run amok. De Toth had the interior sets built to be intentionally cramped, the low ceilings emphasizing Hayden's bull-in-a-china-shop physicality. Not only that, he took away Hayden's pack-a-day habit, which ensured an extra level of grumpy hostility in the actor's performance.
I love to smoke cigarettes, but the doctors say I can't have them. So what do? I chew toothpicks. Tons of them.
Now, if you've already seen this movie on DVD, maybe you listened to the audio commentary I did with writer James Ellroy. Crime Wave is one of his favorites, and in our rambling discussion, he notes that Sterling Hayden was the model for bulldozer cop Bud White in his classic novel L.A. Confidential. No offense to Russell Crowe, but yeah, I totally see that. James, if you're watching, this Bud's for you. Okay, we're getting the old gang back together, a sordid bunch of losers with jackets longer than their arms. So strap in and brace yourself. Here comes a 73-minute crime wave.